Bon dia.
Hi, good morning. What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. Tim may hop in here in a minute. We're actually going a little earlier than I had originally planned. Going to get in here and talk a little Packers Titans. As you can see, we got the stadium in the background now. Pretty cool stadium. One of my favorite stadiums in the league, to be honest with you. It reminds me of some of my favorite stadiums. It's kind of like it's almost like the same version of stadium, same build of stadium as Tampa Bay. The only difference is they don't have a pirate ship down there. They get the little village instead. And then, of course, it kind of looks like Commonwealth Stadium, or what's now known as Kroger Field, where the Kentucky Wildcats play. But Jacob, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. I'm waking up for sure. That's funny because some of y'all may know I did live in Nashville. We're real close, right in East Nashville, across from the bridge. Right, almost. I'm talking. I could walk there in probably 10 minutes. And I've seen more football games at that stadium than I have any other, which is kind of crazy. Not Packer games, because me and my buddy Moonshine would randomly just go buy tickets from scalpers, and I would wear my Packers jersey, and he'd wear his Dallas jersey because he was a diehard Cowboys fan, and we would just make fun of all the people that we would get hammered and just heckle everybody, and they'd be like, "Why are you here? Like, what are you doing?"
No doubt. We got Josh Vallanningham in the house. We got Jay in the house. No block, no rock. Amen, sir. Amen. Let me hit you with one of those real quick, actually.
No block, no rock.
There you go. All right, let's do this. Let's get the party started right. I've seen another comment here in the chat too, Jacob. Jarrell Lee says, X marks the spot. McKinney, haven't seen anything like him since the days of Nick Collins. I think that is an extremely accurate statement, Jarrell. Not saying he's at Nick Collins' level. I think everyone would agree if Nick hadn't got hurt, probably would have made it to the Hall of Fame, I would imagine. He was that big of an impact player. But X is well on his way of setting himself up to going to the Packers Hall of Fame if he continues this up, man. People are going, Clayton, it's 2 games. Yes, it's 2 games, but Jason Wilde, Mark Tauscher, all of them were talking about people within the building. They were comparing him to Charles Woodson this offseason. That was the kind of impact he was having on the locker room. But I don't know about you, Jacob. I'm really excited about X. Get your take on it. But PFF Green Bay Packers actually tweeted this out. Xavier McKinney this season, 2 interceptions, one of just 2 players with multiples, 76 coverage snaps. He's only allowed 8 receiving yards. His passer rating when targeted, 20.8. Arguably the best safety in the league so far.
That's crazy. We knew the impact that he would make on this team as far as on paper. I don't think that we actually realistically thought it would be this impactful and this fast. Like you talked about when you were just now mentioning Nick Collins, I stopped myself. I was going to say, he reminds me more of like a Charles Woodson, just on the impact that he has. And then you went and said that the front office apparently is talking about that. I mean, and also I think it's very, I don't even want to say possible. I want to say probable that dude probably has another pick in this game. I just feel it. I feel like it's the type of quarterback that, you know what I mean? It's another situation where I just feel the way he plays that he plays outfield. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not just a read and react. It's almost like he baits quarterbacks and understands the angles, the positions that he's in, knowing that like, hey, I'm in a certain spot right now. If that dude throws it, I can get there. And I know what to do with the ball once I get it too. So I think it's awesome.
No, it's so true. And you guys know when I talk about my tier of importance positions, tier 1, edge and 3 tech, tier 2, mock linebacker, and then post safety. Notice I don't just say safety, right? And when we were kind of breaking it down through the draft coverage, I kept finding myself getting lost in the muddy water of all the safeties. Like, no, wait. We're talking post safety. We need us a good post safety. This is a perfect example. The beautiful thing is X, just like most great post safeties, they can play in the box. They can play man coverage. Yeah. But, man, he's that dude that you want patrolling center field. He does a great job reading and recognizing the different route combinations. So you go into the week and you study, all right, what's the top 3 to 5 passing concepts, the route combinations the upcoming opponent has used on the previous 4-game saturation, and maybe how they've attacked defenses that are similar to yours in the recent past. And You go, okay, knowing with that information, it's probably one of these three or possibly five. Most of the time, it's just three different concepts they lean on heavily. So then when you see when they come to a trip set, you know, okay, I know they like to run this specific concept. Or when they go 2x2 with the tight end on the left, we know on the wide receiver side, they like to run on, these three concepts. And you can start to cheat that way. Really, what it does is it allows the post safety to be able to just kind of play with instinct while reading the quarterback's eyes. It's absolutely huge. And it's something Savage could not do. Listen, I don't want to keep dogging on him, but he was a half a step late to everything, not because he didn't have the physical ability to break on the ball and to get there. It's because he wasn't sharp enough to be able to read what the offense was doing. Now, was that through preparation? I don't know. I wasn't in the meeting rooms. But is it through, reaction time? It could be a little bit of that. Just because someone says, all right, line up, and when we blow the whistle, you run from this point to this point, just because you're extremely fast doing that doesn't mean your mind can process what you're seeing, right? Mm-hmm. That's what X obviously is. When you hear him talk to, man, he just seems so intelligent. And that was the big thing Von Bullard coming out of college was, and even Matt LaFleur and the guys were talking about, like, his football IQ is excellent too. So the fact that he's studying under X and both safeties in the NFL today that's on the field, you've got to be able to play both those positions. You'll see X. Watch on Sunday. He's done it both games so far. And Evan Williams let the cat out of the bag in training camp when he said, well, basically, X has total control over what the safety does, whether he goes into the box and plays spur or whether he plays post safety. You'll see him point, and the other guy, all right, got it. So he calls the shot at the last second. Think about that. From a quarterback standpoint, you're studying tendencies, and you're thinking, all right, what do they like to do with the safeties? If the players on defense don't even know what they're doing before the snap, how the heck can you read what they're doing, right? So it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, just to drive home the point here, you guys know at one point I was a little bit, I don't want to say hesitant, but I was like, man, do we really want to pay top money for a safety that, we got him in here, and 100% he's been worth the money and then some, because he's done, obviously he shows up on the field. He's been a good locker room guy, but like you just talked about, Clay, this is the guy that's single-handedly basically mentoring a safety room full of 3 to 4 first-year guys. All of them have crazy raw talent, really good upside as far as their personalities. Having a guy like him be with them for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, even if it's just that, they're going to absolutely become the best NFL players, I think, at their possible capabilities, just because of the fact that they've got somebody like him that isn't going to be selfish, that wants to impart his knowledge, that has shown that he's really good at showing, this is what you do in this situation, this is what you do in there. And like you said, Bullard and Williams, we've seen those guys talk, man. They are football smart dudes. They are not just, big bodies, and on top of it, they're throwing thunder. We've seen the clips of Bullard just absolutely laying wood to people. Same thing with Evan Williams, man. So if you got that IQ with the natural ability that lets them play fast and play smart, then boom, that's crazy right there.
Definitely. And Xavier McKinney, obviously, he played for Nick Saban. Nick Saban's Red 2. They said it's like trying to learn how to speak Chinese. Like, if you can pick up Red 2, you can pick up any defense. So X was raised up in that system, and that high demand for excellence from a mental standpoint on defense. And then you go to Javon Bullard. He played under arguably the best defensive mind in the game right now, Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart came from Nick Saban's program. So you got both of your safeties have basically were taught in college how to play the safety position from two of the best, if not the two best defensive minds in college football in the last 50 years. So that is just, it's such a, again, it's just such an advantage, especially like when you come out of Georgia here recently. They talk about their Bloody Tuesdays, I think is what they call it, and just how hard they practice. And then you step into the NFL to where the CBA is kind of toned back how much you can practice, how much you can hit. It's like, hey, I think I can handle this. But again, Javon Bullard, not only did he play post safety, not only did he play spur and in the box, but he also played slot in 2022. So there's something to be said. And I think anybody who's in the workforce, no matter what your job is, it can be a minimum wage job in fast food. It can be working for a Fortune 500 company, in the office space. One thing that everybody agrees on is that many times there's people that are in management that don't know what the hell they're talking about because they've never been in the shoes of the person that they're telling what to do. In this case, when you look at a safety looking to try to set the stage or set the defense up, now Bullard doesn't have that responsibility, but he's watching X do it, right? And you've already played not only post safety, not only box safety, but you played that slot position. You understand a lot more about what goes into playing those positions and setting yourself up to succeed. Now, think back week 1 when Bullard drove on the ball past Quay Walker and made that hit, right? He just sees the field a lot quicker. I'm eager to see where Javon Bullard finishes this year because I think he's on pace to have one of the best rookie safety years in a long time. That's just me personally. So I think he is cut more from the Nick Collins cloth. Personally, I think he's kind of built like Nick Collins. I think he's extremely fast like Nick Collins. I think he's got ball skills like Nick Collins. The question is, can he raise his level of play to where Nick Collins was? So I see X more of like trying to think of the type of safeties here. I don't want to say a Cam Chancellor. Maybe an Earl Thomas early in his career, that type. And then Bullard is more kind of a Nick Collins type. So, all right, let's see here. What else in the chat? Malik Whitmire, in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says, appreciate it, fellas. Making work on Saturday morning a little bit better. Hey, man, thank you for making us a part of your Saturday morning, Buck. We appreciate you. Fractal of God says, if Jordan plays tomorrow, I hope he tightens up his accuracy. Amen. There are some people that are convinced that Jordan is just, oh, man, he's spot on. He's good. He's got a lot to work on. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Packer fan that's saying Jordan has arrived. He's the best quarterback in the league. I think that when he's on, he is a slam dunk top 10 quarterback. I think when he's really on, he can be the best. But the accuracy obviously was the issue. You've seen it in the Philly game. And I don't know, man. Maybe we need to play in the preseason. We said we would have this debate early in the season, Jacob. If everything goes good, who needs preseason? If things go a little bit rocky, it's why aren't we playing these guys in the preseason?
Yeah, I think you could honestly make that argument league-wide because we've seen a lot of these injuries and certain, talking heads that I trust more than even myself have pretty much came out and said, like, they're not getting any impact. They're not getting any sort of valuable practice time where they're actually engaging their bodies in the ways that they're going to do it in the game. And then they get surprised that they're popping up all these injuries left and right. Well, I mean, you can't practice. You can't mimic game speed. You just can't. So like you talked about, I think it is becoming more prevalent. I think that we were all on board that we wanted him to play basically like a half, a quarter, and then a series type thing. And I would have maybe liked to see that progression. And, with Jordan Love, I don't think it's ever been a lack of ability. It's always been a lack of consistency. And he'll even admit that himself. He says that in his a lot of his interviews. And, I don't blame the guy right now. It's going to be tough to try to just absolutely slide back into the starting role and just be Johnny on the spot, just hitting dimes. But if anybody can do it, like you said, it'll be him. Maybe it takes a quarter or two to maybe knock the rust off. And I guess we can talk about it, right? What are the chances that he plays? Are we going to get into that, or is that too much of a dry segue here?
There's nothing else to say other than it's a 50-50 shot. I think we would all agree with that, right? Right. Now the questionable status, that's what that means. Now, that's not to say there's not gamesmanship there. I think the reason there's nothing really else to talk about, Jacob, is because they're not going to let us know how his knee feels today. That's the big question. Because it's going to be rest from here on out. Keep in mind they got to fly, but there's no swelling in his knee with the MCL. All that's going on with the MCL right now, guys, is you're allowing scar tissue to build up around that wound, right? And that's why it's best to stay off of it. And when you play on it, it's not necessarily a risk to re-hurt it. Everybody that I've talked to, everybody that I've seen mention it that have medical degrees and know what the heck they're talking about, I've not heard one person say, well, if he plays on it, he could re-injure it. It's about pain tolerance because that scar tissue is trying to build up around the wound. And essentially that's what's going on there. So if he can tolerate the pain and the big comment, Jacob, was protect himself, right? Can he protect himself? And what that means is, can he escape the pressure if he has to? You don't want to be a sitting duck back there. That's not to say you're going to re-injure that knee. That's going to say you could end up with a concussion or broken ribs or a broken collarbone, something like that, because you weren't able to protect yourself, even with the way you fall. But based off everything we've seen, I think he's probably going to play, but I'm not going to be surprised if Malik Willis gets a nod, So Jay says, hope he's not drifting anymore when he comes back. When he has a solid base, he can't miss. Completely agree. And he got so good last year that he was throwing off base and was drifting and was still accurate. It's just the problem is you got to knock that rust off, like Brian says here in the chat. He has to get the rust knocked off. Hope he can protect himself and play well. It's so true. Like you've got any sport, it doesn't matter what it is, man. It takes repetition, and recent repetition to get that rust knocked off and really kind of hone in on where you were at one point. So there you go. All right, let's see what else we got here real quick. We have one more. Yeah, Jarrell Lee says Eric Wilson play on 3rd and 1 was Pro Bowler play. And I'm telling you, Jarrell, to play 8 snaps and have 3 impact plays, got to get that dude on the field. He may be the piece you're looking for to play Will in this defense. Possibly Mike, who knows? But I still, you got a lot invested in Quay. Quay's going to be on the field. I want him to be the Mike, so you can put him in a position to do what he does best, and that's cover. I'm still hearing people talk about, well, if you want him to be a cover guy, you got to put him in the wheel. I'm like, oh my God, why? Do we watch what happens on the field?
Well, and especially too because like if Quay is in that green dot position, he can basically decide. He can set coverages. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like if we talked about if and then type situations. I mean, I'm sure there is some them reacting on how the offense is going to be making their protections and doing some motion here and there. But right. if he has the ability with that green dot to set protections and set all that kind of stuff, to me, it just seems like a stupid argument. I don't know.
I agree. And, I heard people the other day, Jacob, they were saying, put him in the wheel. That would be the best spot for him. And I'm going, if he's in the wheel and they're playing cover 3, his responsibility is going to be kind of that short hook in the flat. Now, what has Quay done bad? He's missed tackles, right? He's gotten – okay, so imagine this. You get yourself set up in a single high look and you attack the flat. Whether you do kind of a combination there with an out route and a flat underneath. Now imagine Quay Walker trying to tackle someone like Tony Pollard in the open field on a flat route. That's not his strength. His strength is his height, right? He's got a height advantage as a Mike line. He's a tall Mike, and he's got the athleticism to get vertical to protect on those vertical routes. What that allows you to do is run a little zone match combination with Tampa 2, and now you can stay in cover 2 a lot more as opposed to having to go to cover 3 to shut down that seam. So, and he's not perfect at that, but that's definitely his strength. So,
would you say that his best quality, like you said, is maybe like you said, being able to get downfield, cover that seam versus being, because to me, when I watched his low lights or whatever, it was a lot of him kind of very hesitantly reacting, and then he'd get lost in the wash, and he got lost in the wash a ton, or he'd make a bad angle or something. But when you'd watch him drop back in coverage, you're just like, okay, I guess I like that right there. I understand the shine of him. Like that's where you see him flash. And I think, wasn't it Halfley that he said that on certain plays, he's like, wow, he flashes in certain areas and others maybe he doesn't. I think Halfley probably, if he is as good as I hope he is, and I think he is, that he will now, after a few games of live footage and having to look back on this and see, all right, it's up to me now. I know what my guys can do well and what they can't. I now need to put them in a position. I feel like that's Halfley's style of coaching. I don't think that he's going to, and I'm not going to throw Barry under the bus. I kind of just did even by bringing him up, but you know what I mean? It felt like we didn't make adjustments last year. It felt like in the adjustments we made, we did them with the same puzzle pieces. Whereas with Halfley, I feel like he says, okay, I understand that if it's a 3rd and 14, Quay's got to be out there in a certain situation. If it's maybe a 2nd and 4, that McDuffie is probably one of our better filler type linebackers that can actually just sift through box and make a play in the backfield, or Wilson or something like that. I feel like that he's starting to understand the qualities of his players and putting forth like the best starting 11 on any given play. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And again, this was the argument I was making last year, because people were saying we got to stop with this quarters coverage, and I'm going, guys, we're not playing quarters. We're playing 5th most middle field closed of anyone in the league. Like you're just regurgitating what other people are saying when people say that. Now, to your point, Jacob, here we are on our fourth straight defensive coordinator, right? And it was fire Dom Capers, it was fire Mike Pettin, it was fire Joe Barry. What hasn't changed? And I said this when they hired Joe Barry, and I'm saying it now that they hired Jeff Evans. The thing that hasn't changed is how we draft on defense, right? We key in on high athletic ability, extremely high. Quay Walker, world-class athlete at the middle linebacker position.
It's basically RAS. We're just going on RAS.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that they don't take into consideration football IQ. That's silly to think that, but they definitely – I feel like I'll put it this way. If there's a tiebreaker and, okay, he's just as athletic as he is smart, let's lean on the better athletic ability. And I think you might need to press into a little more of the FBI. Now, you look at this draft this year and how we attacked free agency. Xavier McKinney in free agency, extremely high FBI, right? Javon Bullard seems like he has extremely high FBI. Evan Williams, another one. It just seems like he can find the ball, right? It just kind of comes natural to him. So, but yeah, as far as like Joe Barry not making adjustments last year, I seen it, and I think I understand what you're saying, Jacob. I seen it schematically. He made adjustments. I mean, when we got beat by the Giants, we got beat on that final drive because we played press man in the slot with Keyshawn and got burned on a double move up the sideline. And everybody's going, I'm so sick of Joe Barry. I'm like, I can literally search your Twitter profile and find where you scream for press man all year. We get burned in press man, and it's still the defensive coordinator's fault. Then the argument goes, well, it's his job to get them ready. I completely agree. That's why halfway through the year, it's like, okay, we got to make a move here. But if you keep losing with the same personnel, sooner or later, man, you're going to have to go, all right, maybe we need to do something a little different. Now,
that was my point, was that it was more of he didn't exchange the personnel. Like, he did make adjustments on the field as far as the scheme, but he had the same guys out there running around looking like, what.
Right, exactly. So everybody's trying to find, back to the Mike linebacker, everybody's trying to find that Fred Warner duplicate, right? The problem is there's not another Fred Warner on the planet right now, right? Roquan Smith has been excellent with the Baltimore Ravens. As soon as he got out of that crap hole in Chicago, all of a sudden things kind of came together. Funny how that works. But, yeah, as far as Quay, though, I think his ability to cover down the field and kind of keep things in front of him and use that athletic ability, I think that far outweighs any other person that could replace him at the Mike linebacker position that's on the roster right now. Edgerrin Cooper, that may change. But the reality is Edgerrin Cooper's getting limited snaps because he keeps making mental mistakes. So you definitely don't want your Mike linebacker out there wearing the green dot making mental mistakes. Other people would suggest that maybe you take the green dot off of Quay and free him up. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Why don't we let X wear the green dot and let Quay kind of play a little more free? I could see that too. So, yeah.
Just real quick, Nick McSwain says, why don't I ever get notifications for y'all going live? If you're on YouTube, you have to turn notifications on, but I have been told by others too that they, for whatever reason, don't give y'all notifications. It happens to me. I'm subscribed to the channel. I rarely now still get notifications. I don't quite know how to handle that. Check Rumble, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know how, honestly don't know how notifications work to a T, but when I turn notifications on, every channel I'm subscribed to, I get notifications and it drives me crazy. So I just keep it off. But yeah, if you would have to just follow this channel, have notifications on for that not to happen to you. And obviously nobody's going to do that, but I can't answer that question for you. I do know this. There's some funny things that go on with the algorithm. This is not just my experience, but other people talking. I've had people message me and say, hey, bro, I was subbed to your channel. Now I'm unsubbed. I have no idea what happened.
Yep.
It's funny. Right as I said this, our connection dropped. And I've got full internet connection. It's funny how that works. Anyway, but it's just I don't know how to answer it other than we'll try to let you know on the previous show when we're going to go live. Like I let everybody know yesterday, hey, we're going to be going live in the morning. Now we went a little early, so hopefully we can get the notification thing straightened out. But just make sure the bell icon's on and hold on tight if you're subbed to 500 channels like me, because I got a bunch of football channels that I'm subbed to for sure. So let's see here. Adam Block says Quay just needs to play smarter and faster. If he can't, then drafting his replacement or trading for his replacement in the future seems likely. That mock is so important, man. It's like I said, edge, opposite 3-tech, top priority, those two positions. Mock, post safety. You got your post safety. Go get your mock now. You're going to have a great defense. There's no two ways about it. So, and maybe Quay puts it together. That's the other thing, too. We all want to fire Joe Barry. And then when we get a new DC in, we don't want to take into consideration that, hey, these guys got to learn the scheme. These guys got to get used to the new rules they're going to be playing with. So, these are all the things we talked about. And I know you guys and gals that are watching on a daily basis know that. It's just, it gets frustrating. Too old for this. Morning, everyone. I'm limited. I'm limited this morning. Me too, brother. Me too. Greg Rice says, NFL mock linebackers typically have the following physical attributes. I love this. 5'10 to 6'5", weight 215 to 255. So basically, anybody who isn't under 5'10", that fits the mold.
I can fit that. I can make that weight.
I can make that happen.
I can do that.
Exactly.
He did go on, though, to highlight some other Hopper, weight 6'2", 228, and I didn't realize he was that light, I guess. And then Mr. Walker, height 6'4", weight 241. So just, fun
right
facts to think about. But we've covered, Clayton specifically has covered how defenses now, like Robert Salah's defense, where you have very agile, quote unquote, maybe lighter Mike linebackers than you would expect. I believe we covered it too when we were looking at like the Bobby Wagner possibilities and that sort of stuff when we started looking at size. And I really don't think, obviously size is going to have something to do with how you play football. It's football. But if you just are that good, it constantly, it goes back to, again, the safety talk and the way that we draft. Like I'll never forget Kyle Hamilton. For whatever reason, that sticks in my head of being a guy that his measurables were, as far as Green Bay is concerned, horrible. But the guy's FBI was so insane that he comes into the league as a rookie and he's the top two safeties. Like like you said, it does make me want to kind of go to the front office and be like, all right, I get it. We got to find guys that are athletic. Is there any way we can do a cross-reference with maybe a Venn diagram? Kamala loves Venn diagrams. So do I. Let's put those up. Let's see if there's any sort of cross-reference between the fact that if they have crazy RAS and they have a crazy FBI. Let's just not focus on the RAS and see if we can get somewhere in the middle there. And, that's the best endorsement I'll ever give that woman. So
CJ Mosley is the mock backer for the Jets. Height and weight is 6'2", 238. So obviously right in the middle of that size chart or size frame there that the listener mentioned. The one I wanted to look at was Junior Colson. You guys know Junior Colson was my draft crush. He was the guy that I wanted. He's 6'2", 247. So he's thick. Got the height too at 6'2". Obviously not as tall as Quay. Now, what it comes down to there, would you rather have Junior Colson or Edgerrin Cooper? I'm going to look up Junior Colson and how he's doing this year as far as snaps. Go ahead, Jacob, if you want to hit on anything else in the chat or any comments you got real quick. It shouldn't take long.
Well, yeah, Junior Colson,
thick.
Just saying. It is. I don't realize how much we love Tim on this show. He's so good with the drops, man. It's almost crazy how he does it because he's still talking while he does it. I know that a lot of people in the chat are seemingly wondering, let's see, average linebacker positions and heights and that kind of stuff. Again, I just don't think if you're a good linebacker, you're a good linebacker. I always think back like who was my favorite guy back in the day? Miami Dolphins, Zach Thomas.
Zach Thomas, yeah.
Bro, that guy, he was like 5'10", maybe 220, dripping wet, and he was just a beast when it came to he played the position really, really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of just labeling people as like, oh, well, he's only this size, he's only this weight. Greg Rice is asking, do you know anybody in the chat, Ray Lewis's size? Because that guy was an absolute. Talk about the definition of a human meat missile. It was probably Ray Lewis / Ed Reed / basically anybody that was on that Ravens defense in that time. And
this is different. You're talking about different eras too. Ray Lewis, 6'1", 250. But you got to think about when he played. There was a run-heavy time. Everything shifted in the 2010s because teams started to spread everything out and the passing game took over. and that's why teams started to go for those more athletic linebackers, right? And that's, again, Fred Warner can do it all, but yeah, Ray was real thick, 6'1", 250, no doubt about it. And I just looked up Junior Colson, not having a good start here, Jacob. Week 1, 35 snaps. Week 2, only 7 snaps.
And where's he at? Sorry.
He's with the LA Chargers.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Now they got him in the
did Harbaugh? That's who he played for, right? So
yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now his PFF grade 47.8. Right. Guess what he's good and bad at though. Run defense 71.8. Right. Okay. Coverage 41.3. So he's definitely been a little bit better run defender than pass coverage. And again, he was drafted at the 69th spot there in the 3rd round. So that would be like you probably need to compare our Tyron Hopper to him, right? And obviously Hopper hasn't even hardly seen the field. The thing about Hopper too, some people are mentioning, what about Hopper at Mike? Hopper's a thumper. Everything that Quay doesn't do in the run game, Hopper would do that better. I'm convinced. Yeah. The problem is everything that Quay does good in pass coverage, Hopper's not good at least early in his career, right? Based off college and things like that. So, something to keep an eye on there. I love the linebacker top, man. This is fun. We had a whole show set up, but this is a great conversation here. Badger Trio says, also Williams, the rookie from Oregon, flies all over the field. I watched him a lot at the game Sunday. Yeah, and it was so cool to see him get the interception there at the end of the game. It's like, of course he would catch that interception. He just every time there's an opportunity to get an interception, limited snaps, dude makes a play. So yeah, you've seen it all through the preseason training camp. I'm excited to see him get some more snaps. And again, it's Keyshawn Nixon, I felt like had a good game week 1. Week 2 felt like he took a step back. Jeff Hafley seems to be impressed with him, right? And that's all that matters. I'm going to pull up Keyshawn Nixon's PFF.
I mean, do you think – I mean, I really do think that Jeff Hafley is the type of coach where if he was disappointed with a player, I don't think he would say it. I think that he is the type of coach that is always going to try to find a positive way to address a situation. It's just what I might read from him. And I think that's a good way of coaching, especially when he knows guys. I think he understands personalities. I think he understands that he has to be careful with Jair certain ways. I think he has to be careful with Keyshawn because of his ego. I know that he knows he can really count on X because of his perseverance and the way that he seems more of just like a no nonsense, yes sir, no sir type player. I think that he knows that he's got certain guys that he has to, I don't want to say baby because that makes it sound, some type of way, but I think that in a way he understands that coaching a team is almost the same as managing a team. If you've ever been a manager of any sort of business, if been in charge of any sorts of employees and all that kind of stuff, you understand it sounds horrible, but you can talk to certain employees a certain way and you can't talk to certain employees a certain way. It's just people's personalities are different. It's just what makes them up. Definitely.
Now here's PFF and the look at our defense. Let's just kind of take a quick gander here. We'll try to not focus on the Titans at the moment. So they've got Xavier McKinney as a strong safety. There's things for the amount of information that PFF gathers, they do little things really, really bad. Really bad. I don't understand it. Sometimes it just like McKinney as the strong safety, and it's like, do you even watch the damn game? Like, did you not see him intercept the ball 2 weeks in a row playing post safety? But regardless, the grades are the grades here. Okay, so we were just talking about Keyshawn Nixon. I just want to pull this up real quick and kind of look. So in 2024 so far through 2 games, 59.3 defensive grade overall. His pass rush grade's helping that a lot, guys. So
line him up at edge, baby.
Take that pass rush grade out for a second, okay? Because obviously he's firing on the nickel blitz. That's inflating this overall grade. Coverage grade 49.7, run defense grade 67.1, and Hafley did talk about that. Him kind of meeting that run fit. Problem is, we're one of the worst run defenses in the league as it sits right now. We started off strong, and then after last week with Jonathan Taylor, it's like, if that's your strong point and we're still that bad, not a ringing endorsement, right? So when it comes to the grade, though, he's playing pretty much right where he did last year, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how Keyshawn is looking at the moment. If we go back to the lineup here, just to take a quick gander through.
Does that say Kenny Clark's at a 39?
Bro, and this is the thing, Jacob. Like, you remember the offseason I was talking about needs, and I was like, we gotta get a true 3 tech. I think you let Kenny test free agency. And then lo and behold, they give him the contract extension. And I'm always going to react this way, guys, every time. My reaction was Goody knows way more about football in this team than I do. If he thinks he's worth that money, then I cannot disagree that he's not worth that money. Right? That's just, and I will always do that. Players, coaches, GMs, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand football more than them. I'm not going to do it. But everybody talked. We go to this one gap. Watch what happens with Kenny now. Watch this. No sacks so far, right? And his grade is a 39.8. Again, that's not everything. It's PFF. It doesn't mean it's.
Jeez, look at that though. That's
so look at this through the years here, guys. Starting in 2016, 74.8, 87.3, 90.2, 79.5, 76.1, 75.4, 66.4. Last year he jumped back up to a 70.4, and now off to a kind of a slow start. Now, historically, it does seem like, Jacob, he does start slow. So maybe we get, a little later in the season, he ramps it up. But, man, that's a lot of money for someone who's grading out as, I think, what was the number they had on him? Just
101 now? Out of 111 or something.
102. Yeah,
that's
102 out of 111.
I can't taste that chicken.
And again, it's a new system. It's going to take time, right? And everybody's kind of getting, acclimated to everything. The problem is they didn't play two gap all the time last year. And there's still people that are convinced that we played two gap 100% of the defensive snaps. Matt LaFleur confirmed we didn't play two gap last year. In his presser, he said 2 backs equals 2 gaps. 1 back equals 1 gap. Now, he didn't say that's every snap. So there were times in a 34 jam with an ace set, single back set, we were playing 2 gap. But Kenny, it's not looking good early. Hopefully he can crank it up.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we're sitting here throwing shade on Kenny, but take a wide lens there. Nobody. I mean, other than maybe McKinney and Stokes.
That's what gives you hope.
It does, but it doesn't at the same time. Like, and we've seen, it's not like PFF is obtuse to grading Packers. You looked at what all of Kenny's grades have been, I'd say great, or if not good up until this point. So it's not like we have a bias here. It kind of worries me because you look around and there's a lot of yellow, a lot of red in this defense here. So
I understand the concern, man. I really do. But again, when you see the whole defense grading out low, to me, it's all right. You're kind of getting the base of your defense set. I think it will improve as the year goes. I mean, it can't get much worse from a grade standpoint, right? It really can't. And the thing is, too, you got to kind of take into consideration what do people do well. And also, like this last game, we only gave up 10 points this last game. That's a solid defensive performance. Now, it's amazing how people are going, but it's the Colts. They suck. And I'm going, nobody was saying that last week. All of a sudden now they suck. So, it's early. You got to kind of let the dust settle a little bit, rather than just, every 2 seconds change your opinion. All right, we're great again. No, we suck again. And you got to talk about the situational stuff. Like we're leading the league in takeaways. That should be top priority, right? That's second priority to points allowed, right? And points per play. So points per play, then takeaways. That's what Hafley was talking about. Also, third down defense, being real strategic with how you call the game, so you can put yourself in a third down position and call the right play, getting the right look. So, go ahead.
Yeah, J. Cole's just saying, PFF can get a little ridiculous with the grades, in my opinion. And I think it's fair to throw a little bit of shade here and there at PFF. I don't, love all the stuff they do. I think that we've talked about it. Like, show me a better system, show me a better way of grading players, and then I'll completely agree with you. So, it's tough here and there. I used to listen to the Sam Monson's the PFF podcast, and I put a lot of credit to those guys, the way that they explained, the way that they started it. You'll never hear me be a fan of Chris Collinsworth, but I respect what he did and basically the investment into this company that they did and where it came to fruition. I think that it's a factor that you have to take into consideration. It's not the whole piece, but it's definitely, like we always talk about, there's a combine. Sure. There's PFF grades, there's interviews, there's physical tests, there's a lot of different factors, and then they make a decision. So, it is tough to look at that and see so many of the low grades that you don't like there. Also, by the way, we have to get the drop of Rob Schneider from Waterboy. Oh no, he suck again.
Right.
We need that one. That's a good one.
We do need that. You're right, man. We got to find that. I'd like to have the cut his head off, but we can't have that one. Right? Can't make that one work. That's my favorite line in that whole movie, dude. I was like, man, that got out of hand quick. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side in hour 2. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you over there for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.